1 Kings chapter 11. Solomon acquires 700 wives and 300 concubines. He disobeys God by building temples to the gods of these women. Hadad and Rezon become adversaries to Israel. Solomon chooses Jeroboam to be a supervisor over forced labor. Ahijah, the prophet, tells Jeroboam he will rule over 10 tribes of Israel. He explains this is a result of Solomon disobeying God's commands. God will allow Solomon's son to rule over one tribe in David's honor. Solomon tries to kill Jeroboam. Jeroboam flees to Egypt until Solomon's death. Rehoboam, Solomon's son, becomes king once Solomon dies. 1 Kings chapter 12. Rehoboam, Solomon's son, attends his ceremony to become Israel's new king. Israel requests better conditions. Rehoboam rudely denies their requests, and Israel revolts. He sends one of his supervisors to discipline Israel, and they stone him to death. Israel appoints Jeroboam, Solomon's former employee, to be king over the majority of Israel. Rehoboam, Solomon's son, is only ruler over Judah. Out of fear, Jeroboam creates a religion around 2 molten calves so the Israelites under his leadership will have a place to make sacrifices. He fears that Israel going back to Rehoboam's kingdom might influence their loyalty. King Jeroboam appoints priests who are not Levites and creates a holiday for this religion. 1 Kings 13. An unnamed man of God gives Jeroboam a prophecy about a new king from David's lineage that will destroy the current order. An unnamed prophet lies to the unnamed man of God, saying God approves of them eating together. The man of God is killed by a lion. 1 Kings chapter 14. Abijah, King Jeroboam's son, gets sick. Jeroboam tells his wife to visit Ahijah, the prophet, to disguise herself and to bring gifts. Ahijah gives the prophecy that the child will die. Rehoboam's kingdom, Judah, also disobeys God and participates in idol worship. The king of Egypt takes the valuables out of the temple Solomon built. Jeroboam's son, Nadab, rules Israel after his death. Rehoboam's son, Abijam, rules Judah after his death. 1 Kings chapter 15. After Solomon disobeys God in 1 Kings 11, Israel becomes divided into the 2 kingdoms that existed during David's reign in 2 Samuel 2, verse 4. The 2 kingdoms are Judah and Israel. In 1 Kings 15, verse 1, King Jeroboam rules over Israel. Abijam is king over Judah. The 2 books referred to in this chapter that were mentioned in 1 Kings 14 are the Chronicles of the Book of Judah and the Chronicles of the Book of Israel. Both do not appear in the 66 books of the Bible. However, I made the assumption that both books most likely would contain records of both kingdoms in detail. In this chapter, Judah's leadership changes from Abijam, Asa, and Jehoshaphat. Israel's leadership changes from Jeroboam, Nadab, and Baasha. 1 Kings 16. This chapter documents the change in leadership of Israel, the territory that does not include Judah. Every change in leadership in this chapter occurs during Asa's reign over Judah, and this chapter details each change through comparison. Asa's 41-year reign begins in the previous chapter. Nadab, Jeroboam's son, becomes king of Israel in Asa's 2nd year. Baasha, an unrelated man, kills Nadab to become king in Asa's 3rd year. Elah, Baasha's son, becomes king in Asa's 26th year. Zimri, Elah's servant, killed Elah as he was getting drunk in Asa's 27th year. Omri, Israel's military captain, was chosen over Zimri in Asa's 31st year. Tibni, an unrelated man, becomes king over half of Israel but is overpowered by Omri and dies. Omri regains control over Israel. Ahab, Omri's son, becomes king in Asa's 38th year. Ahab marries Jezebel. 1 Kings 17. Elijah tells King Ahab that it won't rain until he says. God tells Elijah to live near a river and ravens will bring him food. Once the body of water dries up, God tells Elijah to go to a town that a widowed single mother will take him in. Her meager food supply stretches far enough to sustain herself, her son, and Elijah for days. Elijah's prayer revives her sick son, restoring the widow's faith. 1 Kings 18. In the 3rd year of no rain, God tells Elijah to show himself to King Ahab because now it will rain. Obadiah, King Ahab's governor that follows the God of Elijah, is tasked with finding grass for the kingdom's animals. Ahab's territory is experiencing a famine. Obadiah runs into Elijah. Elijah tells him to notify Obadiah that he's in town. Elijah challenges Ahab's prophets to a duel in front of all Israel. Both Elijah and the prophets of Baal prepare a sacrifice on an altar and call on their God to answer them by fire. Elijah's God answers, incinerating his altar in front of all Israel. At Elijah's request, the audience takes the lives of the prophets of Baal. 1 Kings 19. King Ahab tells his wife Jezebel what Elijah did, and she puts a hit on Elijah's life. Elijah flees and wishes for death. An angel brings him food, and Elijah naps. He goes to Mount Horeb, where the Lord passes through. Wind, earthquake, and fire manifests, but are not of God. God tells Elijah to anoint Hazazel to be king of Syria, Jehu to be king of Israel, and Elisha to be a prophet. 1 Kings chapter 20. King Benhadad of Syria tells Ahab he wants Israel's valuables, women, and children. King Ahab agrees until the men of his kingdom tells him to resist. This leads to war, and God sends a prophet to tell Ahab he will be victorious, proving he is Lord. Ahab in Israel is victorious. King Benhadad attacks again, and Israel is slaughtering the Syrians. Benhadad and his men concede, making a compromise with King Ahab. A prophet tells Ahab that his life and the life of his people will be taken because he did not destroy a man destined for destruction. 1 Kings 21. Ahab wants a vineyard that is close to his home and owned by Naboth. Naboth refuses every offer because this is his family inheritance. King Ahab is saddened and tells Jezebel what happened. Jezebel organizes a trial where Naboth is found guilty of being stoned to death. Once he takes over the vineyard, Elijah delivers a prophecy of his doom. King Ahab humbles himself, and God changes his mind, deciding to bring destruction onto Ahab's lineage during his son's lifetime. 1 Kings 22. King Ahab wants to go to war for 2 territories and asks Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, for help. Jehoshaphat wants godly confirmation before participating. King Ahab brings 400 prophets, all who agree this is a good idea. One prophet fashions horns as a performative gesture of encouragement to go to war. King Jehoshaphat of Judah asks for a real godly prophet, and a messenger brings Micah. He gives a prophecy from God telling King Ahab not to go to war. King Ahab imprisons Micah, displeased with his prophecy. Ahab dies in war. This chapter details the rise of King Jehoshaphat of Judah, who is Asa's son. We are also introduced to King Uzziah, Ahab's son.